She walked into your life like a hurricane, dressed as a summer breeze. At first, everything felt electric. The chemistry, the intensity, the way she made you feel like you were the only man in the world. But now, 6 months later, you're exhausted at 2 p.m., anxious about your phone buzzing, and you can't remember the last time you felt genuinely happy. You're not losing your mind. You're being poisoned slowly and deliberately by someone who feeds on your energy like a parasite. Toxic women don't come with warning labels. They come with sob stories that activate your protector instinct. They come with sexual energy that short-circuits your judgment. They come with just enough sweetness to keep you addicted while they systematically dismantle your life. And the scariest part is they've gotten so good at this game that you'll thank them for destroying you. Let me paint you a picture of what toxic actually looks like, because it's not what you think. She's not obviously evil. She's not constantly cruel. If she was, you'd have left already. No, toxic women are masters of the push-pull dynamic. Monday, she's telling you you're the best thing that ever happened to her. Tuesday, she's giving you the silent treatment for some crime you didn't know you committed. Wednesday, she's crying about how everyone always leaves her. Thursday, she's threatening to leave you. By Friday, you're so mentally scrambled that you can't tell up from down, and that's exactly where she wants you. The manipulation is surgical. She doesn't just lie, she creates alternate realities where you're always the villain and she's always the victim. That argument, where she screamed at you for an hour, you provoked her. That time she went through your phone while you were sleeping, you made her insecure. That night she disappeared and wouldn't tell you where she went, you're too controlling for even asking. Watch how she turns your strengths into weaknesses. Your kindness becomes a weakness she can exploit. Your success becomes something that makes her feel small, so she has to tear you down. Your friendships become threats to her control, so she systematically destroys them. Your family becomes the enemy because they see through her act. She's not just toxic, she's strategically toxic, targeting everything that makes you strong, stable, and sane. The chaos she creates isn't accidental. It's her oxygen. When things are calm, she'll manufacture drama. When you're happy, she'll find a problem. When you're succeeding, she'll create a crisis that demands all your attention. She needs you off balance, reactive, and constantly putting out fires, because that's when you're easiest to control. Peace is her enemy, because peaceful men have time to think. And thinking men realize they're being played. Your body knows she's toxic before your mind admits it. That constant fatigue is your nervous system in permanent fight-or-flight mode. Those headaches are your brain trying to process the cognitive dissonance of loving someone who's hurting you. That weight gain or loss is your body responding to chronic stress. You're not weak. You're being systematically broken down by someone who's turned emotional manipulation into an art form. Here's the moment everything changes. When you finally tell her no and mean it. Watch her face. That split second of shock before the manipulation kicks in. That flash of rage before the tears start. That moment of disbelief that you're not folding like you always do. That's her realizing her favorite toy just became a person with limits, and she absolutely hates it. You've been programmed to believe that boundaries make you selfish, that saying no makes you unkind, that protecting your peace makes you difficult. But let me tell you what boundaries really are. They're the difference between being her partner and being her prisoner. They're the line between loving someone and losing yourself. They're not walls to keep people out. They're gates that only let the right people in. The toxic woman in your life has trained you like a circus animal. Every time you tried to set a boundary, she hit you with emotional terrorism. I thought you loved me. You're being controlling. My ex would never treat me like this. You're going to abandon me just like everyone else. She turned your attempts at self-protection into evidence of your cruelty, and eventually you stopped trying. It was easier to give in than deal with the nuclear fallout of standing your ground. But here's what she never told you. Boundaries aren't requests for permission. They're statements of fact. You don't ask someone to respect your boundaries. You enforce them. You don't negotiate your non-negotiables. You don't explain why you deserve basic respect. You simply state what you will and won't accept. And then you back it up with action. Setting boundaries with a toxic woman looks like this. I won't continue this conversation while you're yelling. Not, please stop yelling. Or, why are you yelling? Or, you're hurting my feelings when you yell. Just a clear statement of what you won't participate in. No justification, no explanation, no debate. Because the moment you start explaining your boundaries, she'll turn your explanation into ammunition against you. She'll test every boundary you set. That's not a possibility. It's a guarantee. When you say you won't tolerate disrespect, she'll disrespect you harder to see if you'll fold. When you say you need space, she'll invade it aggressively to prove you don't mean it. When you say certain behavior is unacceptable, she'll double down on that exact behavior. This isn't her being difficult. This is her testing whether your boundaries are real or just suggestions she can ignore. The pushback will be nuclear. She'll cry. She'll rage. She'll become the victim. She'll threaten to leave. She'll actually leave, then come back acting like nothing happened. She'll recruit other people to pressure you. She'll use every emotional weapon in her arsenal because your boundaries threaten her control. A toxic woman needs you boundaryless because that's how she feeds on your energy, your time, your resources, and your sanity. Your boundaries are not mean. They're medicine. They're not punishment. They're protection. They're not about controlling her. They're about controlling what you'll accept in your life. When you set a boundary, you're not telling her what to do. You're telling her what you'll do if she continues toxic behavior. There's a massive difference, and healthy people understand it immediately. Toxic people pretend not to understand because confusion is another manipulation tactic. She just sent you a text designed to ruin your entire day. We need to talk about what you did. No context, no details, just enough information to send your mind spiraling while you try to figure out what crime you've committed in her imaginary courthouse. Your heart's racing, your stomach's in knots. You're already crafting apologies for things you haven't even done yet. And somewhere across town, she's smiling at her phone, knowing she owns your mental real estate for the next 8 hours. This is emotional fishing, and you're the fish who bites every single time. Toxic women are reaction farmers. They plant seeds of chaos and harvest your emotional responses like crops. Your anger feeds them. Your confusion gives them power. Your desperate need to fix things? That's the jackpot. They don't start fights to resolve issues. They start fights to generate the emotional chaos they need to feel alive. Watch her tactics, like you're studying a predator in the wild. First comes the guilt grenade. I guess I'm just not important enough for you to remember our 3-week anniversary. Then, the blame boomerang. I wouldn't have gone through your phone if you didn't make me feel insecure. Next, the triangulation special. Your friend agrees with me that you're being unreasonable. Finally, the silent treatment nuke. Complete radio silence until you're begging for any communication, even if it's toxic. She's figured out your triggers like a safecracker who knows every click of the combination. Mention other women, and you'll over-explain your innocence. Give you the cold shoulder, and you'll chase harder. Cry about her terrible past, and you'll rush to save her. Threaten to leave, and you'll beg her to stay. She's not having emotions. She's using emotions as weapons, and you keep showing up to a gunfight with your heart on your sleeve. Here's what she desperately doesn't want you to know. The only way to win this game is to stop playing. When she sends that vague, "we need to talk" text, you respond with, "Okay, let's talk when I get home," and then go about your day. When she starts yelling to provoke you, you say, "We can discuss this when you're calm," and leave the room. When she guilt trips you, you don't defend yourself. You simply say, "I'm sorry you feel that way," and change the subject. Neutral responses are her kryptonite. She throws emotional grenades, and you respond like you're discussing the weather. She creates drama, and you stay calm like you're watching a boring movie. She pushes every button she knows you have, and you respond like those buttons have been disconnected. This isn't being cold. It's being strategic. You're not giving her the emotional crack she's addicted to. The power of disengagement is that it forces her to escalate to absurd levels, which exposes her manipulation for what it really is. When you don't react to level 1 manipulation, she has to go to level 10, and suddenly she looks crazy even to herself. She's screaming about a wet towel on the bed while you're calmly making coffee. She's having a meltdown about your female coworker while you're reading a book. She's threatening divorce because you didn't text back fast enough while you're taking a peaceful walk. Your non-reaction is the mirror that shows her who she really is, and toxic people hate mirrors. They need you emotional, reactive, and unstable because that justifies their behavior. When you're calm, collected, and disengaged, they have no one to blame but themselves. The hardest pill to swallow isn't that she's toxic, it's that you can't save her. You've spent months, maybe years, believing that if you just loved her harder, understood her better, or fixed yourself more, she'd finally become the woman you know she could be. But here's the truth that'll set you free. You're not her therapist, her father, or her rehabilitation center. You're just a man who's been destroying himself trying to heal someone who doesn't want to be healed. Emotional detachment isn't about hating her. That's what she wants. Your hatred is just another form of intense emotion she can feed on. She'd rather have your rage than your indifference, because at least rage means she still controls your emotional state. No, real detachment is looking at her the same way you'd look at a stranger having a meltdown in a grocery store, with mild concern, but zero personal investment. You've been carrying her emotions like they're your responsibility. When she's sad, you scramble to fix it. When she's angry, you absorb it like a punching bag. When she's anxious, you drop everything to calm her down. You've become her emotional janitor, cleaning up every mess she makes, while she continues throwing garbage everywhere. But her emotions are not your problem to solve. Her trauma is not your puzzle to piece together. Her happiness is not your project to complete. Here's what detachment actually looks like. She calls you crying at midnight about some drama she created. And instead of rushing over, you say, "That sounds difficult. I hope you figure it out," and go back to sleep. She tries to pull you into an argument about something from 6 months ago, and you say, "I'm not discussing this," and continue watching your show. She threatens suicide for the 5th time this month to manipulate you into staying, and you call 911 and let professionals handle it instead of playing hero. The guilt will be crushing at first. Your mind will scream that you're being cruel. that you're abandoning someone who needs you, that a good man would try harder. But that guilt isn't your conscience. It's her programming. She's installed software in your brain that makes you feel responsible for her emotional state. And that software needs to be deleted. You're not cruel for protecting your peace. You're not selfish for choosing sanity. You're not a bad person for refusing to drown while trying to save someone who's pulling you under. Choosing peace over engagement means becoming boring to her. Toxic women need drama, like plants need water. And when you stop providing it, they either escalate to dangerous levels or they find another source. Either way, it reveals the truth. She was never interested in a relationship. She was interested in a hostage situation where you were both the negotiator and the victim. The beautiful part about emotional detachment is that it returns you to yourself. Suddenly, you have energy because you're not spending it all managing her moods. You have clarity because you're not lost in her manufactured confusion. You have peace because you're not constantly preparing for the next explosion. You remember what it feels like to just exist without the weight of someone else's dysfunction on your shoulders. This isn't about becoming cold or emotionless. It's about redirecting your emotional energy toward people who deserve it and situations that actually matter. It's about recognizing that you can wish her well from a distance without setting yourself on fire to keep her warm. It's about understanding that love without boundaries isn't love. It's self-destruction with a romantic soundtrack. The revenge fantasies feel good, don't they? Telling her off, exposing her to everyone, making her feel the pain she caused you. But here's what separates the men who heal from the men who stay broken. You don't need to destroy her to rebuild yourself. You don't need her to admit what she did. You don't need her to apologize, understand, or change. You just need to walk away with your dignity intact and let her live with the consequences of being herself. Detaching with compassion isn't about being noble. It's about being strategic. Every moment you spend hating her is a moment she still owns you. Every revenge plot you plan is energy she's still stealing. Every angry text you draft is proof she's still controlling your emotional state from wherever she is. The opposite of love isn't hate, it's indifference. And indifference is the only currency that has no value in her economy of chaos. You can limit contact without becoming the villain in your own story. I wish you the best, but I need space to focus on my own life. That's it. No dramatic exit speech listing her crimes. No detailed explanation of how she hurt you. No final attempt to make her understand what she lost. Just a clean, simple boundary that doesn't give her any ammunition for her victim narrative. Because she will spin this story to everyone who will listen. And your job isn't to control that narrative. It's to stop caring about it. Here's the brutal truth about closure. You're never going to get it from her. She's never going to suddenly understand the damage she caused. She's never going to take responsibility. She's never going to give you the apology your heart thinks it needs to heal. Waiting for closure from a toxic person is like waiting for a vampire to reflect in a mirror. It's physically impossible because self-awareness would destroy their entire identity. The closure you're seeking isn't in her hands anyway. It's in yours. It happens the moment you accept that some people are just broken in ways you can't fix. That some relationships are lessons, not destinations. That sometimes the only explanation you'll get is that there is no explanation that would make sense to a healthy mind. She is who she is. She did what she did. And none of it has to define who you become. Releasing resentment isn't about forgiving her. It's about freeing yourself. That anger you're carrying is poison you're drinking while hoping she gets sick. That bitterness is a prison you've built where you're both the guard and the inmate. You don't have to forgive her actions. You don't have to understand her motivations. You just have to stop letting her rent space in your head for free. Wishing her well from a distance isn't weakness. It's power. It's saying, I hope you heal whatever made you this way, but it won't be at my expense anymore. It's recognizing that she's probably fighting demons you know nothing about, but those demons don't get to use you as a punching bag. It's understanding that hurt people, but that explanation isn't an excuse for you to volunteer as her victim. The ultimate act of compassion is accepting that the best thing you can do for both of you is leave. You're not abandoning her. You're stopping the toxic dance that's destroying both of you. You're not giving up. You're choosing peace. You're not losing. You're finally winning the only game that matters. The one where you choose yourself. This is where your real life begins. Not when she changes. Not when she apologizes. Not when she realizes what she lost. But right now, in this moment, when you choose to walk away with compassion instead of hatred, with wisdom instead of bitterness, with your integrity intact instead of lowering yourself to her level. You're not just leaving a toxic relationship. You're graduating from a masterclass in self-respect. Here's the question that'll make you uncomfortable. Why did you stay so long? Not her manipulation tactics, not her false promises, not the good times you were chasing. Why did you stay? Because until you answer that question honestly, you're just going to find another toxic woman with a different face, but the same poison. The problem isn't just that you attracted a toxic person, it's that something in you decided to tolerate it. Maybe you confused intensity with love. That chaos felt like passion. The highs and lows felt more real than stable, boring contentment. You're addicted to the drama, too, even though you'd never admit it. When she was losing her mind, at least you felt needed. When she was creating a crisis, at least you had a purpose. You became a firefighter who secretly needed fires to feel valuable. And she was an arsonist who needed someone to blame for the smoke. Look at your patterns. Really look at them. This isn't your first toxic relationship, is it? There was the girl in college who threatened suicide every time you tried to leave. The one before that who cheated but somehow made it your fault. The one before that who isolated you from your friends. Different women, same dynamic. You're not randomly unlucky. You're unconsciously selecting these women because something in their dysfunction matches something unhealed in you. Your triggers are your teachers if you're brave enough to study them. When she compared you to other men, why did it destroy you? Because deep down, you already believed you weren't enough. When she withheld affection, why did you chase harder? Because someone, probably in childhood, taught you that love had to be earned through performance. When she manipulated you with tears, why did you fold every time? Because you learned somewhere that a woman's emotions were your responsibility to fix. Here's what radical self-awareness really means. Admitting you were a volunteer, not a victim. Yes, she was toxic. Yes, she manipulated you. Yes, she caused damage. But you signed up for it again and again. You saw the red flags and made them into decorations. You felt the disrespect and called it love. You experienced the abuse and came back for more. This isn't self-blame, it's self-ownership, because you can't change what you won't acknowledge. Your inner voice has been screaming the truth since day one, but you buried it under her gaslighting and your own denial. That gut feeling when she lied? That was your truth? That discomfort when she crossed boundaries? That was your wisdom. That exhaustion after every interaction? That was your body begging you to leave. You knew. You always knew. You just chose her validation over your own intuition. Stop explaining yourself to people who are committed to misunderstanding you. You've written novels explaining your boundaries, your needs, your feelings. You've had 4-hour conversations trying to make her see your perspective. You've twisted yourself into psychological pretzels trying to find the perfect words that would finally make her get it. But she gets it. She's always gotten it. She just doesn't care. Your explanations are just giving her more data to use against you. The relationships you're clinging to are the ones killing your growth. That toxic woman isn't the only person you need to release. What about the friends who keep telling you to give her another chance? The family members who say you're too picky? The part of yourself that believes you don't deserve better? Every relationship that requires you to shrink, to settle, to sacrifice your peace, they all need to go. Radical self-awareness means recognizing that you're not the same person who entered this toxic relationship. You're someone who survived it, learned from it, and now has the wisdom to never repeat it. But that wisdom is worthless if you don't act on it. You know what you need to do. You know who you need to become. The only question left is whether you have the courage to trust yourself more than you trust her manipulation. You want to know the superpower that makes you immune to toxic people? It's not confidence. It's not boundaries. It's not even experience. It's knowing yourself so deeply that no one can tell you who you are anymore. When you know your values, your worth, and your truth, at a bone-deep level, manipulation becomes impossible because you can't be convinced to betray something that's carved into your DNA. Self-awareness is your armor, and most men are walking around naked in a battlefield. You don't know why you react the way you do. You don't understand your emotional patterns. You can't explain why certain things trigger you. So, when a toxic woman comes along with her PhD in psychological warfare, you're a sitting duck. She reads you better than you read yourself, finds your wounds, and presses on them until you'll do anything to make the pain stop. But when you develop real self-knowledge, not the surface-level, I like sports and beer nonsense, but deep understanding of your psychological machinery, everything changes. You recognize manipulation the moment it starts, because you know which buttons she's trying to push. You see the guilt trip coming, because you understand your relationship with guilt. You spot the gaslighting immediately because you trust your perception of reality more than her distortion of it. Emotional intelligence isn't about being soft or sensitive. It's about being strategic. It's understanding that when you feel that familiar rage building, she's trying to provoke you into becoming the bad guy. It's recognizing that when you feel desperate to fix her mood, she's using your caretaker instinct against you. It's knowing that when you feel worthless, she's activated an old wound that has nothing to do with your actual value. You're not reacting to the present anymore. You're responding with wisdom. Here's what clarity looks like in action. She starts her usual manipulation routine, and instead of getting pulled into the drama, you observe it like a scientist studying a predictable experiment. Interesting. She's using the crying technique now. In about 5 minutes, she'll switch to anger when the tears don't work. Then comes the threat to leave. Then the love bombing. You're not emotionally involved anymore. You're watching a performance you've seen 100 times, and it's boring. This level of self-knowledge transforms you from prey into someone untouchable. Toxic people scan for targets, and they're looking for specific things. People-pleasers who can't say no. Fixers who need broken people to feel valuable. Codependents who don't know where they end and others begin. When you know yourself, you stop broadcasting these victim signals. You become invisible to predators because you're no longer food. Your well-being becomes non-negotiable when you truly know yourself. Not in a selfish way, but in a survival way. You understand that if you don't protect your peace, you have nothing to offer anyone. If you don't maintain your mental health, you become useless to the people who actually matter. If you don't guard your energy, you'll be too depleted to build anything meaningful. Self-care isn't selfish. It's the foundation that everything else is built on. The moment you prioritize your well-being over her approval, the game ends. She can cry, but your peace matters more than her tears. She can rage, but your mental health matters more than her tantrums. She can threaten to leave, but your self-respect matters more than her presence. You're not being cruel. You're being clear about what you will and won't sacrifice. This is what real empowerment looks like. You sitting in perfect calm while she exhausts herself trying to trigger you. You sleeping peacefully while she sends 17 texts trying to start a fight. You living your life while she spirals in her self-created chaos. You're not fighting her anymore. You've transcended the battlefield entirely. The ultimate truth is this: no one can manipulate someone who knows themselves completely. No one can gaslight someone who trusts their own perception. No one can control someone who's already in control of themselves. Your self-knowledge isn't just protection, it's power. And once you claim that power, you become ungovernable by anyone except yourself. If this journey through the complexities of toxic dynamics has helped you reclaim your peace and clarity, please subscribe and like the channel. We are dedicated to uncovering the psychological truths that help men rebuild their lives with strength and dignity. Protect your sanctuary. The next chapter of your empowerment begins now.